Hello and welcome, my name is Vlad, and today we are going to talk about my participation in Godot Wild Jam, which I traditionally decided to take part in the last moment. To be specific, in the middle of the first day of the jam, and thinking about my take on the subject, which is inside of the machine, took the rest of the day. First, I was thinking about some sort of straightforward take on it, with command line or being stuck in the matrix, but I figured that I won't be able to make something fun out of it. So, I decided to go with more philosophical take on it, inspired by Ghost in the Shell and Metroid Fusion. That's how idea of Ghost in the Craft game was made. Mechanically, it's a Space Invaders type game with a few unique mechanics, which we are going to talk about later in the video. From the plot perspective, it's the story of Sarah, who was lead engineer in the research facility based on space station. This station were attacked by unknown enemy, and Sarah died in that encounter with all of personnel of this station, but not before she were able to copy her thoughts and memories into the craft. And now, she, as the central computer of the spacecraft, has to get to the Earth, fighting through the hordes of aliens to be able to restore her humanity. But in the end, when plot uncovers, it turns out that she's stuck even deeper than she thought, and all of these events happen because of what she and the research facility in general were working on. Well, at least it was a plan. But if Ghost in the Craft is a story about humans stuck inside of the machine, then my participation in this jam is a story about humans stuck in the cage of his own ambitions. Concept of this game were severely overscoped, which led to working on it all of my free time in 8 days of this jam, and yet submitting buggy and unpolished game. So, plot was added in the last moment, and it isn't as interesting and detailed as I planned. But we're here not to talk about the things that were left behind. Even with all of the overscoping and such stuff, I did a lot of cool things on this project and made it into a full-fledged game. This was my main focus, to create experience for players, and only after that work on polishing it. With all of that being said, let's talk about the concept of the game in details. First of all, it's Space Invader clone type of a game, with strong influence of Star Defender game series, which is known for interesting enemy formations and movement patterns. Secondly, I decided to build upon the concept of original linear game. You see, Space Invaders is an arcade game. It was designed for players to lose and start again and again, spending money that way. This approach has little in common with roguelike games, with learn, die, repeat game loop. So I decided that it would be an interesting idea to move from arcade to roguelike, adding more variability to the game. To do so, I decided to add two things. First, customization for our ship. Customization of the ship in itself isn't a unique feature for my game. It's actually quite common for Space Invaders-like games, but it's mostly based on power-ups or something similar, while my take is based on scavenging, collecting scrap and models through levels to upgrade your spacecraft in whichever way you want. This adds a lot to a strategical aspect of the game, especially with the limited supply of ammo for powerful weapons, which you can craft, but that would mean you are losing on upgrading your ship. And mechanic of limited lives, which are not renewable, fitted into this concept nicely, adding an aspect of focusing on not taking any damage, because you'll have to pay to repair it with your resources, while logic of having specific amount of health renewable at the start of the level wouldn't have such an effect. And the second thing I decided to add to the base concept is a non-linear progression through the game in a shape of map similar to one in Slay the Spire. Algorithm for creating such maps is actually quite a simple one, but if you Google it, you'll find a lot of scary technical words. So I'm going to create a separate video on this subject, explaining it without unnecessary technical complications. For now, the most important thing about this map is that it lets players choose their way through the game, optimize it and create unique playstyle. Map consists not only of encounters with enemies, but also different types of events, which lets you receive new modules, upgrades and sometimes just a little bit of scrap. There were also thoughts about swapping hull of your ship with ones found in events, and adding hulls with different amount of slots for modules, unique perks, but this was too obvious that it's overscoped. So I got rid of this idea and started working on the game. I've implemented core logic for modules, model slots and map in the first day, and then a lot of time on implementing 9 different types of enemies, making cool movement paths for them and combining all of that. And here's one of the main tricks of the game. It's clear to anyone that making a good Space Invaders game is all about interesting levels. and making levels requires a lot of time. So it's absolutely impossible to create necessary amount of levels for the game fair and square. To solve this problem, I've built levels in such a way that every level consists of 3 paths. Then I created just 10 basic variants of these level paths. If you combine 3 of them one after another and check to make sure that this combination didn't happen previously in the game, you can add a lot of variety to the game. And using this scary formula from statistics, which I'm showing you just to make you think that I'm a smarty and going to hide before you fall asleep of boredom, we can count that this game contains 120 semi-unique levels, which is more than enough for a jam game. Especially knowing that I've unintentionally made a game so hard that most of the players have ever seen just 1 or 2 of these levels. Anyway, it's a very cool trick which literally multiplies results of your work. Most of the roguelike games use such tricks in some shape or form, but with just a little bit more than 10 variants of puzzle pieces to combine. So, moving to the next subject. This was also the first project which uses Godot signals intensively. Most of my previous projects has some sort of signal logic, but we're talking about simple static connections created through editor. This time, on the other hand, most of the units in the game are shooting projectiles which shouldn't move relative to the shooter. And the cleanest way to go about it is to send signals to the root scene defining which projectiles to add. So, I had to dynamically connect all of the units located in different parts of the level to the root element of it. And having a little to none experience with such tasks, I approached it in absolutely a wrong way. I decided to simplify a connection mechanism by making parents connect to their direct children, catch their signals and send the same signals forward through this chain. Something similar to proxy pattern, stacked upon proxy pattern, upon another proxy pattern, and etc. This decision made me waste quite some time defining behavior of every element of this chain. This approach adds a lot of unnecessary complexity while not really giving much benefit. So, one of the main things I took from this jam is that it's better to just recursively run through the whole scene tree, connecting signals straight from the sender to receiver, without these proxies. Also, I understood that I need to think even smaller when it comes to participating in jams, to not overscope it and be able to submit an actual finished project. This game received good feedback and really bad ratings, and I think that it's fair. People got the idea and was interested by it. But final product had a lot of problems in execution, wasn't tested and polished enough. This was a good idea but bad execution, because of the jam format. So, thanks and sorry to everyone who played this game. I understood that it wasn't the best experience you had. In February of this year, I've made a text-based game called DigiLoad-In, about ruling a country through app on your phone. And in my devlog about it, I've said that writing text for quests in this game exhausted me, and I'm not a fan of making such games in the future for that reason. In fact, a level design process for Ghost in the Craft had quite a lot in common with writing these quests, but it didn't feel that exhausting and I had fun doing it. So I wouldn't mind to continue working on this game and this type of games in general, sometime in the future. But for now, that's all I wanted to share. You can find links to my socials in the description. Links to the jam and my game are also in the description. I'm planning to fix all the bugs, polish the game and revoke quick controls in the nearest future. Consider subscribing and ring the bell not to miss the next video on this channel. It'll either be a tutorial about map from Slay the Spire or a progress report focused on animations for Atomic Shift, the game on a new version of which I'm working on right now. Stay tuned to know more about all of that. But for now, thanks for watching, see you soon. Stay safe, have a good day, and bye.